The fluorescent lights of Myeongdong restaurant buzzed overhead like trapped insects as Adaeze Okafor wiped down the last table in the private dining room. Her feet ached in shoes that were half a size too small. She couldn't afford new ones yet, not when Obayoma's school fees were due next month and Mama needed money for the leaking roof back in Lagos. Adaeze SSI, you can go home now. Manager Kim poked his head through the door, his expression softening the way it always did when he looked at her. He was kind enough, even if he paid her less than the Korean servers. Good work tonight. Thank you, Manager Kim. She bowed, the gesture still feeling unnatural even after 2 years in Seoul. In Nigeria, she would never bow to anyone like this, but Korea had different rules. Survival had different rules. She was gathering her things when the light caught something black wedged between the seat cushions of the corner booth. Adaeze hesitated, glancing at the clock. 11:47 p.m. The last bus to her Gashawon would leave in 20 minutes, and if she missed it, the taxi fare would eat up half her night's earnings. But her hand was already reaching for the object. The wallet was heavy, made of leather so soft it felt like butter against her calloused fingers. Even in the harsh restaurant lighting, she could tell it was expensive, the kind of expensive that whispered rather than shouted. No brand name visible, no flashy hardware. Just quality that spoke for itself. She shouldn't open it. She should just give it to Manager Kim and run for her bus. Adaeze opened it. The first thing she saw was cash, more Korean one than she'd seen in one place since arriving in this country. She didn't count it, couldn't bear to count it, because knowing the exact amount would make the temptation worse. Behind the bills, several cards gleamed, a black credit card with no bank logo, just a name embossed in small letters. Kang Min-jun. An ID card was tucked in another slot, but the photo was too dark to make out features. And then she saw it, a small business card, matte black with a single phone number in silver. No name, no company, no email. Just numbers. Adaeze closed the wallet and pressed it against her chest, her heart hammering. This money could change everything. She could pay Obayoma's school fees for the entire year. Get Mama's roof fixed. Buy herself shoes that fit. Maybe even save enough to go back to university, finish her degree like she was supposed to before Papa died and the world tilted sideways. Nobody would know. The private dining room had been full of businessmen, drunk, loud, probably too wealthy to miss one wallet. They'd already paid the bill in cash, left ridiculous tips. Whoever this Kang Min-jun was, he could afford the loss. She stood there for a long moment, the buzz of fluorescent lights counting down the seconds until her bus left. Then she carefully tucked the wallet into her purse and walked out of the restaurant. The Gashawon was exactly as depressing as always, a room barely bigger than a closet, with a narrow bed, a desk she couldn't fit her legs under, and a window that looked directly into another window 3 feet away. But it was hers, and it was safe, and it was all she could afford while sending most of her money home. Adaeze set the wallet on her desk and stared at it while she unwound her braids from the tight bun she wore for work. Her reflection in the small mirror showed exhaustion painted in the hollows under her eyes, in the way her shoulders slumped forward. She was 24 years old. She should be finishing her degree, going to parties, dating, living. Instead, she was working 3 jobs in a country where half the people stared at her skin like she was an exotic curiosity and the other half pretended not to see her at all. Her phone buzzed, a video call from home. Adaeze almost didn't answer, afraid the wallet would somehow show in the background, like guilt made manifest. Sister Ada. Obayoma's face filled the screen, all bright eyes and the gap-toothed smile she'd had since losing a tooth in a schoolyard fight. You look tired. I'm fine, Obi. Just finished work. Adaeze forced brightness into her voice. How was school? Boring. But guess what? I got the highest score in mathematics again. Her sister's pride was infectious. Teacher said I could be an engineer someday, just like you wanted to be. Adaze's chest tightened. She'd wanted to be a business consultant, help Nigerian companies expand internationally. Dreams from another lifetime. That's wonderful, sweetie. I'm so proud of you. Mama wants to talk to you. Obayoma's face was replaced by their mother's, the lines around her eyes deeper than Adaeze remembered from just a month ago. Ada, my daughter. Mama's voice carried across oceans and time zones, warm as Lagos sun. You're eating enough? You look thin. I'm eating, Mama. A lie. She'd had instant ramen for dinner 3 nights this week. The roof is leaking again. Worse this time. Chitty tried to patch it, but Mama's voice trailed off, and Adaeze heard all the words she didn't say. They needed money. They always needed money. I'll send extra this month, Adaeze heard herself promise, even as her bank account balance flashed red behind her eyes. After the call ended, she sat in silence, looking between her phone and the wallet. She picked up the wallet and pulled out the business card with the phone number. Her fingers hovered over her phone screen. This was crazy. She should just leave it at the restaurant tomorrow, let manager Kim deal with it. That was the smart thing, the safe thing. But something in her, that stubborn Okafor pride Papa had always said would be her downfall, made her dial the number. It rang once. Twice. On the third ring, a voice answered. Yes. Not a question, just a statement. The voice was male, deep, and cold enough to frost the phone line. Hello, I'm calling about a wallet. Adaeze's English felt clumsy suddenly. I found it at Myeongdong restaurant. I work there, and someone left it behind. Silence stretched across the line. Then, what's your name? Adaeze. Adaeze Okafor. Nigerian? She bristled at the way he said it, like he was categorizing her, filing her away. Yes. The wallet. Describe it. She did, mentioning the black leather, the cards, everything except the amount of cash. She still couldn't bring herself to admit she'd looked that closely. Another pause. Meet me tomorrow. 2 p.m. Café Dior in Gangnam. Do you know it? I can find it. It would take an hour on the subway, cut into her afternoon shift at the convenience store, but she could make it work. Come alone. The line went dead before she could respond. Adaeze set down her phone, her hand trembling slightly. Something about that voice, about the way he'd given orders rather than requests, sent warning signals through her nervous system. But she'd already made her choice. She'd return the wallet, do the right thing like Papa had raised her to do, and that would be the end of it. She couldn't have known, couldn't have imagined, that the simple act of returning a lost wallet would shatter her life into before and after. That the man with the cold voice and the black leather wallet would become both her prison and her salvation. Couldn't have known that destiny sometimes comes disguised as a choice, when really, it was always going to find you. Adaeze placed the wallet in her purse and turned off the light, but sleep didn't come easy. In the darkness of her tiny room, she felt the shape of tomorrow waiting, patient and inevitable as sunrise. The next morning arrived too soon. Adaeze stood in front of her closet, if 3 hanging items and a small plastic drawer could be called a closet, and tried to decide what one wore to return a wallet to a stranger with a voice like winter. She settled on her only good outfit, black slacks that she saved for job interviews she never got, a white blouse that was starting to yellow at the collar despite her careful washing, and the fitted blazer she'd brought from Nigeria. It was too warm for Seoul's autumn, but it made her feel armored, professional. Like someone who belonged in Gangnam cafes. The subway ride to Gangnam was long enough for doubt to creep in. What if this was a scam? What if he claimed she'd stolen money from the wallet? What if? But no. She'd done nothing wrong. She was returning something that wasn't hers. Simple. Café Dior sat on a tree-lined street where every storefront looked expensive and unwelcoming. Through the glass windows, Adaeze could see gleaming marble floors, chairs that looked more like art installations than furniture, and customers who wore their wealth like a second skin. She took a breath, felt for the wallet in her purse, and walked inside. The air conditioning hit her first, cold and perfectly calibrated. Then the eyes, every person in the cafe turned to look at her, their gazes ranging from curious to unwelcoming. Adaeze lifted her chin. She'd dealt with stares before. Can I help you? The hostess's Korean was polite, but her expression said clearly, you don't belong here. I'm meeting someone. Kang Min-jun. The hostess's face transformed, politeness curdling into something like fear. Of course. This way. She was led to a private corner booth, partially secluded from the main cafe by a decorative screen. And there, already seated, was the owner of the voice from the phone. Adaeze's breath caught. He was younger than she'd expected, late 20s, maybe 30. Sharp features that could have been carved from stone, dark eyes that tracked her approach with predatory focus. His black suit probably cost more than her entire year's salary, fitted perfectly to broad shoulders and a lean frame. Everything about him screamed danger wrapped in expensive packaging. But it was his eyes that held her. They were cold, assessing, weighing her worth in seconds, and finding her wanting. Or finding her interesting. She couldn't tell which was worse. Sit. Not a request. Adaeze sat, keeping her purse, and the wallet inside it, close. Mr. Kang? Min-jun is fine. He didn't smile. You have my wallet. Yes. She pulled it out, set it on the table between them like a peace offering. Everything should be there. I didn't take anything. He picked up the wallet, opened it, and for a long moment did nothing but look at the contents. Adaeze's heart hammered. Could he tell she'd looked? Was there something she'd missed, some sign that she'd examined it too closely? The money is all here, he finally said, pulling out the stack of bills. With quick, efficient movements, he counted out 2,000,000 won and pushed it across the table to her. Your reward. Adaeze stared at the money. 2,000,000 won. More than 3 months of her combined salaries. Enough to fix Mama's roof and pay Obioma's school fees and buy shoes that fit Anne. No, the word came out before she could stop it. His eyes snapped to her face. No. I don't want a reward. I just wanted to return your wallet. It was the right thing to do. For the first time, something flickered in those cold eyes. Surprise, maybe. Or suspicion. Everyone wants money, he said, his voice flat. It wasn't cynicism, it was stated fact, like observing that water was wet. I don't want your money. I want, she trailed off. What did she want? To feel good about herself? To prove she wasn't broken by 2 years of barely surviving? To know that Papa would be proud of one decision she'd made? I just want to do the right thing, she finished lamely. Min-jun leaned back in his seat, and for a long moment he simply studied her. Adaeze forced herself not to fidget under that dark gaze, to meet his eyes with all the Okafor stubbornness Papa had warned her about. What's your story, Adaeze Okafor? He asked finally. What? You're Nigerian. You work at Myeongdong restaurant. You live, he paused, and she realized with cold certainty that he already knew where she lived. In a Gashawon in Dongdaemun. You send most of your money home. You work 3 jobs. And you won't take a reward for returning a wallet that contains more money than you'll see in a year. How do you? I make it my business to know things. He cut her off smoothly. So I'll ask again. What's your story? Adaeze should have been frightened. Should have grabbed her things and run. But anger was easier than fear, and it bubbled up hot and familiar. Why does it matter? I returned your wallet. We're done here. Are we? Something like amusement touched his lips, though his eyes remained cold. That's interesting. Because I think we're just beginning. Before she could respond, a man appeared beside the booth, massive, built like he could break concrete with his bare hands. He leaned down and whispered something in Min-jun's ear. Min-jun's expression didn't change, but Adaeze saw his jaw tighten minutely. It seems we have a problem, he said, his gaze still on her. Park Sung-ho's men are outside. They saw you come in. They think you're someone important to me. What? I don't understand. You returned my wallet. In my world, that makes you either very stupid or very brave. Either way, it makes you interesting. And Park Sung-ho likes to hurt things I find interesting. The temperature in the cafe seemed to drop 10 degrees. Adeeze's hands gripped the edge of the table. I don't have anything to do with your world. You do now. Min-jun stood smoothly, buttoning his jacket. Taeyong will take you home. Don't go to work for the next few days. I'll handle Park. You can't just. I can. He looked down at her, and for a brief moment, something almost like regret crossed his features. You should have taken the money, Adeeze. Should have walked away. But you wanted to do the right thing. He leaned closer, his voice dropping to barely above a whisper. In my world, doing the right thing will get you killed. Then he was gone, moving through the cafe with the big man, Taeyong, at his heels. Adeeze sat frozen in the booth, her heart racing, her mind struggling to process what had just happened. She'd returned a wallet. That was all. She'd done the right thing. So why did it feel like she'd just made the worst mistake of her life? Outside the cafe's windows, Seoul's autumn sun shone bright and indifferent, and Adaeze Okafor sat alone in a booth, clutching her purse, and wondering how returning something that didn't belong to her had somehow cost her everything she was trying to protect. The answer, she would learn, was simple and terrible, because in Kang Min-jun's world, there were no simple good deeds. Every action had a price, every kindness a consequence. And she had just bought herself a debt she didn't know she owed. Adeeze didn't go home. She should have. The massive man, Taeyong, had escorted her to a black car that probably cost more than her entire village back home, held the door open with surprising gentleness, and offered to drive her anywhere she wanted. But the moment he'd mentioned, for your safety, something in her head snapped. She wasn't some damsel who needed protecting. She'd survived 2 years in Seoul on her own, navigated a foreign country with limited Korean, worked herself to exhaustion to keep her family fed. She wasn't about to let some stranger in an expensive suit dictate her life because she'd made the mistake of being honest. So she'd thanked Taeyong politely, declined the ride, and taken the subway straight to her afternoon shift at the convenience store. Now, 5 hours into her shift, she was beginning to think that might have been a mistake. The man had been standing across the street for the past hour. Not doing anything, not looking at his phone, just watching. He was Korean, middle-aged, with a scar that ran from his left eye to his jaw. Every time Adeeze glanced out the window, his eyes were on the store. On her. Adeeze SSI, you okay? Mr. Park, the store owner, touched her shoulder. You look pale. I'm fine. She forced a smile, rang up his customer, cigarettes and soju, the usual. Just tired. But she wasn't fine. Her phone had been buzzing all afternoon with calls from unknown numbers. She'd ignored them all. Now she was wondering if that had been wise. The customer left. The store was empty except for her and Mr. Park. Through the window, the scarred man was crossing the street. Adeeze's heart kicked into overdrive. The door chimed. The man walked in, his eyes never leaving her face. He didn't browse, didn't pretend to shop. Just walked straight to the counter. Adaeze Okafor. He said her name like it tasted bad. His Korean was rough, accented, she couldn't place from where. Can I help you? She kept her voice steady, her hand sliding toward the panic button under the counter. You took something that belongs to Park Sung-ho. I don't know who that is. The wallet. He leaned forward, and she could smell cigarettes and something worse. You took money from it. 50 million won. Mr. Park wants it back. I didn't take anything. You were seen. At the restaurant. At the cafe with Kang Min-jun. He smiled, and it was the ugliest thing Adeeze had ever seen. Min-jun's whore gets very stupid, very fast. The slur hit her like a slap. Rage flooded her system, hot and sharp. Get out. Her voice shook. Get out or I call the police. The police? He laughed. Little African girl, the police won't help you. You're illegal, yes? Overstayed your visa. Her blood went cold. How did he know that? Her student visa had expired 6 months ago, and she'd been too afraid to leave Korea. Leaving meant she couldn't come back, couldn't keep sending money home. 50 million won, he repeated. You have 3 days. Or we visit your family in Lagos. That little sister, Obioma? She's very pretty. The world tilted. Adaeze's hand found the panic button and pressed. The man's expression darkened. Stupid girl. He reached across the counter, grabbed her wrist. Adaeze screamed. And then the store's glass door exploded inward. Taeyong came through like a force of nature, moving faster than any man his size should be able to. He grabbed the scarred man by the throat, lifted him off his feet, and slammed him against the wall hard enough to crack the plaster. She said leave. Taeyong's voice was conversational, almost pleasant. You didn't listen. This isn't your business. The man choked on his words as Taeyong's grip tightened. Anything involving her is Min-jun's business. Min-jun's business is my business. Taeyong leaned in close. Tell Park Sung-ho, the girl is protected. Touch her, and Min-jun will burn his entire organization to the ground. Understand? The scarred man nodded frantically. Taeyong released him, and he crumpled to the floor, gasping. Then he was scrambling up, stumbling toward the broken door, and gone. Silence filled the convenience store. Mr. Park stared at the damage, his face pale. Adaeze's legs felt like water. Are you hurt? Taeyong turned to her, and his voice was gentle now, concerned. No. No. She looked at the shattered glass, at Mr. Park's shell-shocked expression, at the reality of what her life had become in less than 24 hours. What have I done? You returned a wallet. Taeyong pulled out his phone. Boss needs to see you. Now. I have to finish my shift. Your shift is over. He showed her his phone screen, a text from Min-jun, just 2 words, bring her. Mr. Park found his voice. Adaeze SSI, maybe you should go. I'll handle the store. She wanted to argue. Wanted to insist she could take care of herself, that she didn't need some criminal's protection. But the scarred man's words echoed in her head, that little sister, Obioma? She's very pretty. I'm sorry about the door, she whispered. Don't worry about the door. Mr. Park's expression was pitying. Just be careful. The black car was waiting outside. Taeyong opened the door, and Adaeze slid into leather seats that probably cost more than her monthly rent. The car smelled like expensive cologne and danger. They drove in silence through Seoul's early evening traffic. Adaeze watched the city slide past, the bright lights of shopping districts, the crowds of people living normal lives, the world she'd been part of just yesterday. Everything looked the same but felt different now, like she was watching it through glass. He was watching you all day, Taeyong said suddenly. The one at the store. I was watching him watch you. You've been following me? Protecting you. He glanced at her in the rearview mirror. Boss's orders. You didn't make it easy, refusing the ride. I don't need protection. I don't need any of this. Her voice cracked. I just wanted to return a wallet. I know. Something like sympathy crossed his face. For what it's worth, I'm sorry. You seem like a good person. Then let me go. Drop me at the subway, I'll leave Seoul tonight, go somewhere they can't find me. They'll find you. And they'll find your family. He said it gently, like delivering a terminal diagnosis. Park Sung-ho doesn't make empty threats. If he said he'd hurt your sister, he meant it. Adaeze pressed her forehead against the cool glass window. I don't understand. Why does he think I took money from the wallet? I didn't take anything. Because someone told him you did. Probably one of his men who saw you at the restaurant, made up a story to curry favor. Taeyong shrugged. Truth doesn't matter in our world. Only what people believe. Your world. Not mine. It is now. They pulled up to a building in Gangnam that screamed wealth, all glass and steel, modern architecture that looked like it cost more than most countries' GDP. Taeyang led her through a pristine lobby where the security guard bowed low, into an elevator with buttons that went all the way to the penthouse. The ride up felt like ascending to judgment. The elevator opened directly into an apartment, no hallway, no neighbors, just straight into a space that made Adeeze's brain struggle to process. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Seoul's glittering skyline. Furniture that looked like art. Everything in shades of black, white, and gray, cold and perfect and utterly without warmth. Min-jun stood by the windows, his back to her, phone pressed to his ear. He was speaking rapid Korean, too fast for her to follow, but she caught the tone. Cold. Commanding. Absolute. He ended the call and turned. In the soft lighting of the penthouse, he looked different than he had in the cafe. Still dangerous, still sharp enough to cut, but there was something else in his expression now. Anger, maybe. Or concern. She couldn't tell which. You didn't go home, he said. I had work. You were almost killed. He crossed the space between them in 3 long strides. Do you understand that? Sung-ho's man had orders to grab you if you were alone. Taeyang got there 30 seconds before he would have dragged you into a van. Adeeze lifted her chin, refusing to show fear. I can take care of myself. Can you? He was in her space now, close enough that she could see gold flecks in his dark eyes. Can you take care of your mother? Your 3 siblings? Because that's what's at stake now. Sung-ho knows about them. He knows everything. Because of you. The words came out sharper than she intended. This is your fault. Your world, your enemies, your... My wallet, he finished quietly. Yes. You should have left it at the restaurant. Should have let someone else deal with it. Should have been selfish for once in your life. I'm not selfish. I know. And there was something in the way he said it, not admiration, but something closer to regret. That's the problem. He moved away, paced to the windows. Seoul sparkled below them, beautiful and indifferent. Sung-ho is, old school. Vicious. He's been trying to push me out of Gangnam for 2 years, and I've blocked him at every turn. Now he thinks he's found my weakness. Min-jun glanced back at her. You. I'm not your weakness. I'm nothing to you. You're right. You're nothing to me. He said it like he was trying to convince himself. Just a woman who returned a wallet. So it shouldn't matter if Sung-ho hurts you. Shouldn't matter if he goes after your family to punish me for his own failures. But I don't let people touch what's mine. I'm not yours. In Sung-ho's mind, you are. You were seen with me. That makes you mine whether I want it or not. He turned fully to face her. So here's the situation. Sung-ho thinks you stole 50 million won from my wallet. He wants it back, and he wants to hurt you in the process. I could pay him, make this go away. Then do it. Except paying would be admitting I care. Admitting I care makes you an even bigger target. His jaw tightened. Every enemy I have would come after you, thinking they could hurt me through you. Adeeze's mind spun. So what do we do? We? His eyebrow rose. There is no we. There's you going into protective custody until I eliminate Sung-ho, or... He moved closer again, and this time she didn't back away. His eyes searched her face like he was looking for something, courage, maybe, or stupidity. The line between them seemed thin. Or you work for me. The words hung in the air between them. Work for you, Adeeze repeated slowly. For 6 months. I need someone who speaks English, Korean, and African languages for my international clients. You fit the profile. You work for me. Sung-ho sees you're legitimately part of my organization, not just some random woman. The threat to you diminishes. And if I refuse? Then I put you in a safe house until this is resolved. Could be weeks. Could be months. You won't be able to work, contact your family, or have any life at all. His expression was unreadable. Your choice. Some choice. Adaeze looked around the cold, perfect penthouse, then back at the man who'd turned her life into a nightmare by the simple fact of losing his wallet. What kind of work? Translation. Communication. Nothing illegal. He paused. Mostly. My business operates in gray areas. I won't lie to you about that. But you won't be asked to hurt anyone. Won't be in physical danger, as long as you stay where I can protect you. Protect me. Bitterness leaked into her voice. Like I need protecting because of you. Yes. He didn't apologize, didn't make excuses. Because of me. Because you did the right thing and returned something that wasn't yours. Because in my world, kindness is seen as weakness, and weakness gets exploited. Adaeze thought of Obioma's bright smile on the video call. Of Mama's tired eyes. Of Chitty trying to patch a roof he had no idea how to fix, of Amaka's dreams of university. Everything she'd been sacrificing for, everything she'd been protecting. 6 months, she said. 6 months. And then I'm free. Completely free. No threats, no debt, no connection to you or your world. You have my word. The word of a criminal. His smile was cold and sharp. The word of a man who keeps his promises. It's worth more than you think. Adaeze extended her hand. Min-jun looked at it for a long moment, then took it. His grip was firm, warm, and sent an unexpected jolt through her system that she refused to acknowledge. Do we have a deal, Adaeze Okafor? She thought of her father, who'd taught her to always do the right thing. Wondered what he'd think of this moment, this choice, this man. We have a deal, Kang Min-jun. She couldn't know it yet, but in that handshake was the beginning of something that would destroy her old life completely, and maybe, just maybe, build something new from the ashes. Outside the windows, Seoul glittered like broken glass, beautiful and cutting in equal measure. The apartment Min-jun set up for her was nothing like her Gashawon. For one thing, she could actually stand in the middle of it without touching 2 walls. For another, it had an actual kitchen, small, but with a real stove and a refrigerator that didn't sound like it was dying. The bathroom had a tub, not just a shower head over a drain. The bed was large enough for 2 people, which felt obscene after 2 years of sleeping curled on her side to fit in a twin. It should have felt like luxury. Instead, it felt like a cage with nice furniture. Security cameras are here, and here. Taeyong pointed to small devices in the corners. For your protection. Or to watch me. Both. He didn't pretend otherwise. You'll have a security detail. Someone will always be outside the building. You can go where you need to go, but I'm a prisoner. You're protected, he corrected. There's a difference. Adaeze wasn't sure there was. That first week blurred together in a haze of new normal. She quit her jobs, or rather, Taeyong quit them for her, appearing with severance pay that was probably more than she'd earned in 6 months. Her new job started immediately, sitting in on meetings with Min-jun and his associates, translating between Korean, English, and occasionally Yoruba when his Nigerian clients came through. She'd expected drugs. Weapons. The kind of criminal activity you saw in movies. Instead, she got business. Complicated, morally gray business, but business nonetheless. Min-jun's organization wasn't just a gang, it was a sophisticated network that operated like a corporation. They collected debts, yes, but also provided security, brokered deals between parties who couldn't use official channels, moved money across borders for people who couldn't use banks. Some of it was legal. Some of it wasn't. Most of it existed in the spaces between. You look surprised, Min-jun said after her first week, during a meeting break. They were in his penthouse office, overlooking the city. I expected different. Drugs? Violence? He poured himself whiskey, offered her one. She shook her head. I'm not a street thug, Adaeze. I'm a businessman who happens to work in an underground economy. Is there a difference? To most people? No. To me? It's everything. He took a sip. My father was a street thug. Died in a gutter with a knife in his back, owing money to everyone. I learned from his mistakes. It was the first personal thing he'd shared. Adaeze filed it away, a piece of the puzzle that was Kang Min-jun. Your Korean is improving, he continued, changing the subject. I'm practicing. With Dante? There was something sharp in his tone. Dante, the tech genius with the charming smile and Italian-Korean heritage, had indeed been teaching her. He was funny, kind, and most importantly, normal. Talking to him didn't feel like walking through a minefield. He's a good teacher. He's interested in you. Adaeze met Min-jun's eyes. So nothing. Just an observation. But his jaw was tight, his grip on the glass harder than necessary. Before she could respond, her phone buzzed. Mama's number. Adaeze excused herself and stepped into the hallway. Mama? Ada, my daughter. Mama's voice was bright, excited. You won't believe it, the roof is fixed. Ice flooded Adaeze's veins. What? Some men came yesterday. Said you'd sent them. They fixed everything, the roof, the walls, even the broken window in Obioma's room. Ada, how did you afford this? You shouldn't spend so much. Mama, I didn't send anyone. Silence. Then, but they said, they knew your name, knew about the roof problems. They said you'd paid for everything. Adaeze's hand tightened on the phone. She turned to find Min-jun standing in the doorway, watching her with unreadable eyes. Mama, I have to go. I'll call you back. She ended the call and crossed the space between them in 3 furious steps. You had no right. Your family needed help. I helped them. Without asking me? Without, she caught herself before her voice rose too high. I don't want to owe you anything more than I already do. You don't owe me. Consider it a signing bonus. His expression was calm, infuriatingly so. Your family is safe. Isn't that what matters? What matters is that you're manipulating me. Making sure I can't leave, can't. Can't what? Go back to working 3 jobs and sending everyone home while you starve? Living in a closet, wearing shoes that don't fit, pretending you're fine? His voice was still calm, but there was an edge now. I'm giving you what you need. Your family's home is repaired. Your sister's school fees are paid. Your brother starts university next semester. Yes, I paid for that too. Stop. Just stop. Tears burned behind her eyes. You don't get to swoop in and fix my life like I'm some charity case. I'm not being charitable. I'm being practical. He moved closer. You work for me now. Your family's stability is my investment in keeping you focused, keeping you here. So it is a cage. It's security. His eyes met hers, and for a moment, she saw something beneath the cold calculation. Your pride won't feed your siblings, Adaeze. Won't fix your mother's roof or pay for medicine when she gets sick. I can. At what cost? 6 months of your time. That's all. But it wasn't all, and they both knew it. Every kindness was a chain, every gift a shackle. He was binding her to him with generosity, and it was more effective than any threat. I hate you, she whispered. I know. He said it without emotion. But your family is safe. And at the end of 6 months, you'll have saved more money than you could have in 5 years of working yourself to death. Hate me all you want, but that's the truth. He was right. That was the worst part. He was absolutely right. Adaeze turned away, looking out at Seoul's skyline. Don't do anything else for them. No more surprises. If my family needs something, you ask me first. Agreed. She felt him move closer, felt the warmth of him at her back. For what it's worth, he said quietly, I understand pride. I understand wanting to do everything yourself, not owing anyone. But sometimes survival means accepting help, even from people you don't trust. Did you accept help? No. I was too proud. Too angry. A pause. That's how I know pride can kill you. There was a story there, in the roughness of his voice, in the way his reflection in the window looked almost vulnerable. But before Adaeze could ask, his phone rang, and the moment shattered. We have a meeting in an hour. Nigerian clients. His voice was business again, cold and professional. I need you there. Fine. He left, and Adaeze stood alone in the office, watching the city sprawl below. Somewhere out there, Park Sung-ho was planning his next move. Somewhere out there, her family slept peacefully in a newly repaired home, unaware that their safety had been bought with their daughter's freedom. And somewhere in this vast, glittering city, Adaeze's old life was becoming a memory, replaced by something she didn't have a name for yet. Something that felt dangerously like belonging. 3 weeks into her new life, Adaeze witnessed her first collection. The debtor was a businessman, middle-aged, soft around the middle, the kind of man who wore expensive watches but couldn't meet Min-jun's eyes. He owed 30 million won and had missed 3 payment deadlines. I just need more time, the man pleaded in rapid Korean. Adaeze stood by the wall of Min-jun's office, supposedly there to take notes, actually there to learn. My business had unexpected costs. Your gambling habit had unexpected costs, Min-jun corrected, his voice mild. He sat behind his desk, perfectly composed in a black suit. You took a loan for your daughter's surgery. Noble. Then you took the surgery money to a casino in Macau. Less noble. The man's face went pale. How did you? I know everything about my clients. Their debts, their lies, their families. Min-jun's eyes flicked to Adaeze, then back to the debtor. Your daughter recovered, I'm told. Congratulations. How is she? She's fine. Please, I'll pay everything back, I just need. You need nothing. Min-jun stood, and the temperature in the room dropped. You took money meant for your child's health and gambled it away. Now you want mercy. Why should I give it? Please. Taeyong. The big man stepped forward. The debtor started crying. Adaeze's stomach turned. This was it. This was where she'd see the violence, the brutality, the reality of what Min-jun actually was. But Min-jun raised a hand, stopping Taeyong. He walked around his desk, stood in front of the sobbing man. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to pay me back. Every one, with interest. But instead of the standard terms, you'll work it off. The man looked up, confused. Work it off? I own a shipping company. Legitimate, legal, boring. You'll work there for the next 2 years. Your salary will go directly to your debt, minus enough for your family to live modestly. Your daughter gets to keep her father. Your wife doesn't become a widow. You get to keep your life. Min-jun's voice was cold. But if you gamble again, if you take another loan, if you lie to me one more time, Taeyong will break both your legs and leave you in the street. Understood? The man nodded frantically. Yes. Yes, thank you. Don't thank me. Thank her. Min-jun gestured to Adaeze. She's the one who suggested mercy might be more profitable than violence. Adaeze's head snapped up. She'd done no such thing, she'd barely spoken to Min-jun outside of business matters since the incident with her family. But the debtor was bowing to her now, gratitude and relief making him babble thanks. Taeyong escorted him out, and then it was just the two of them in the office. I didn't suggest anything, Adaeze said. I know. But you were thinking it. Your face is very expressive. Min-jun returned to his desk. You were horrified. thought I was going to hurt him. Weren't you? If hurting him would get my money back, yes. But it wouldn't. He can't pay if he's in a hospital. His family can't pay if he's dead. Min-jun pulled up something on his computer. Violence is inefficient. I prefer it when people owe me their livelihoods instead of their lives. That's still cruel. It's practical. He keeps his family. I get my money. His daughter still has a father. Dark eyes met hers. Would you prefer I broke his legs? I'd prefer you didn't loan money to desperate people. Then desperate people would have nowhere to turn. Banks don't give loans to gamblers with bad credit. I do, at a price. It's not charity, but it's not cruelty either. It's business. Adaeze wanted to argue, but she couldn't. Because in some twisted way, he was right. The man had options now he wouldn't have had otherwise. You're not what I expected, she said finally. No? He seemed genuinely curious. What did you expect? A monster. Disappointed? I don't know yet. Something like amusement touched his lips. Honest. I appreciate that. Her phone buzzed. A text from Dante, coffee tomorrow? Need to test your Korean skills. Smiling face with smiling eyes. She smiled before she could stop herself. Dante again? Min-jun's voice had gone flat. He's my friend. He wants to be more than your friend. That's not your business. Everything about you is my business. He stood, and she was reminded suddenly of how tall he was, how he filled a room just by existing. You work for me. That means your relationships, your connections, your vulnerabilities, all my business. You don't own me. For 6 months, I do. The words hung between them, terrible and true. Adaeze grabbed her bag. I'm done for today. We have another meeting. Then you'll manage without me. She was at the door when his voice stopped her. Adaeze. She didn't turn around. Be careful with Dante. He's a good man, but he doesn't understand the danger you're in. Getting close to him puts him at risk. Everything puts everyone at risk in your world. She looked back over her shoulder. Maybe the problem isn't who I'm close to. Maybe it's you. She left before he could respond, but his words followed her all the way down in the elevator, into the car Taeyang drove, back to her beautiful cage of an apartment. Everything about you is my business. She hated how true it was. Hated more how a small, traitorous part of her wondered what it would be like if those words meant something different. Something less about possession and more about. No. She shut down that thought immediately. Kang Min-jun was her employer. Her captor, in all but name. The man who'd turned her life upside down. Whatever heat she'd felt in that moment in his office, whatever confusing feelings his proximity stirred up, they didn't matter. They couldn't matter. But that night, alone in her apartment with its cameras and its luxury and its invisible bars, Adaeze dreamed of cold eyes and colder hands, of a voice that said everything about you is my business and made it sound almost like a promise. She woke up angry at herself and angrier at him, and absolutely determined to keep her distance. That determination lasted exactly 2 days. The men came on a Tuesday afternoon while Adaeze was grocery shopping. She'd been carefully selecting vegetables at a market in Itaewon, the international district where she felt slightly less conspicuous, when she noticed them. 3 men, Korean, dressed too well for a street market. They didn't pretend to shop. Just watched. Adaeze's security detail was supposed to be discreet. These men were anything but. She abandoned her basket and headed for the exit. They followed. The street was crowded, which should have been comforting. Instead, the crowd seemed to part for the men behind her, like Moses and the Red Sea. People saw something in their faces that made them move. Adaeze's phone was in her purse. She reached for it, but a hand caught her wrist. Don't. The man was young, maybe early 20s, with a smile that didn't reach his eyes. Mr. Park would like to speak with you. I don't know any Mr. Park. Park Sung-ho. Min-jun's enemy. Your enemy now too. The smile widened. You can come voluntarily, or we can make a scene. Your choice. A black van pulled up to the curb. The side door slid open. Adaeze looked around frantically. Where was her security? Where was Taeyong? Where was? A hand grabbed her other arm. They were moving her toward the van. She tried to scream, but another hand covered her mouth. The world tilted, narrowed to the dark interior of the van and the smell of cigarettes and fear. Glass shattered. Someone screamed. The hands released her. Adaeze stumbled backward and saw Min-jun standing where one of the men had been. His fist was bloody, his expression murderous. The young man with the smile was on the ground, not moving. The other two were running. Taeyong appeared from nowhere, grabbed the third man before he could escape. There was a brief, brutal scuffle, and then that man was down too. Are you hurt? Min-jun's hands were on her face, turning her head, checking for injuries. His touch was surprisingly gentle. I'm fine. Her voice broke. Where were you? Stuck in traffic. They jammed the security frequencies, blocked your details communications. His jaw was tight. This was coordinated. I want to go home. You are home. You're with me. It should have sounded possessive. Instead, it sounded like a promise. Taeyong appeared at their side. Boss, we need to move. Police will be here soon. They got her into a different car, Min-jun's personal vehicle, black and sleek and fast. He drove himself, which seemed to surprise Taeyong. Adaeze sat in the passenger seat, shaking. Sung-ho is escalating, Min-jun said, his voice tight with controlled rage. This was a kidnapping attempt in broad daylight. He's getting desperate. What does he want? To hurt me. You're the easiest way to do that now. Then let me go. Send me back to Nigeria, get me out of. He'll follow you there. Kill your family to make his point. Min-jun's knuckles were white on the steering wheel. There's no running from this, Adaeze. Only through it. Through it how? By eliminating the threat. The way he said it made her blood run cold. You mean kill him? I mean handle it. The details don't concern you. They do if I'm the reason for this war. You're not the reason. You're the excuse. He glanced at her, and something in his expression softened. Sung-ho and I have been heading toward confrontation for years. You just accelerated the timeline. They pulled into an underground garage, not his building, somewhere else. A safe house, maybe. The lights were dim, the shadows deep. Where are we? Somewhere he doesn't know about. Min-jun killed the engine. You'll stay here until I resolve this. How long? However long it takes. Adaeze turned to face him fully. In the dim light, she could see the blood on his knuckles, the tension in his shoulders. He'd moved heaven and earth to get to her. Had fought for her without hesitation. Why? The question came out quieter than she intended. Why what? Why do you care? I'm just someone who works for you. Just a means to an end. Why risk yourself for me? Min-jun was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was different, less controlled, more raw. I don't know. That's not an answer. It's the only one I have. He looked at her, and in his eyes she saw something she hadn't seen before. Uncertainty. Vulnerability. You should have been easy to categorize. Easy to keep at a distance. But you're not. Min-jun. You return things that aren't yours. You refuse money you desperately need. You work 3 jobs to support a family an ocean away and never complain. His voice dropped. You make me remember what it felt like to care about something other than survival. The air in the car felt thick, charged. Adaze's heart was racing for reasons that had nothing to do with the kidnapping attempt. That scares you, she said. Not a question. Yes. He didn't lie, didn't hide. People I care about become targets. Become weapons others use against me. It's why I stopped caring. Until a stubborn Nigerian woman walked into a cafe and handed me my wallet like it was the most natural thing in the world. His lips quirked, almost a smile. Until you looked at me like I was a person, not a monster. Until you made me want to be the man you thought you were meeting, instead of the man I actually am. Adeeze's breath caught. Who do you think you are? Someone broken beyond repair. Someone who's done things you can't imagine. Someone who, he stopped, jaw tightening. Someone who doesn't deserve the way you look at me. How do I look at you? Like I could be better. Like there's something worth saving. He turned away. There isn't. Before she could think, before she could stop herself, Adeeze reached out and touched his face, turning him back to her. His skin was warm under her palm, his sharp jaw rough with stubble. Maybe I see what you could be, not what you've been. Adeeze, her name was a warning, a plea. Maybe you're not the only one who's confused. Her thumb traced his cheekbone. Maybe I'm terrified because I should hate you, but I don't. Maybe I think about you when I shouldn't. Maybe. He kissed her. It wasn't gentle. It was desperate, hungry, like he'd been holding back for weeks and finally broke. His hand tangled in her braids, the other gripping her waist, pulling her closer across the console. Adeeze kissed him back with equal desperation, months of tension and fear and confusion pouring into this one moment. He tasted like danger and dark promises. He kissed like a man starving, like she was oxygen and he'd been drowning. When his teeth caught her bottom lip, she gasped, and he swallowed the sound, kissed her deeper. Wrong. This was so wrong. He was her employer, her captor, a criminal who'd upended her entire life. But his hands were gentle even as they trembled. His kiss was fierce but not forceful. And when he finally pulled back, breathing hard, his forehead resting against hers, there was wonder in his eyes. That was a mistake, he whispered. Probably. You should hate me. I know. I've ruined your life. Yes. She kissed him again, softer this time. You have. He made a sound low in his throat, part groan, part surrender. Kissed her like he was memorizing her, like she might disappear. His hand cradled her face with a tenderness that made her chest ache. When they finally broke apart, reality came crashing back. The dark garage. The blood on his knuckles. The fact that someone had just tried to kidnap her. We can't, Min-jun said, but his hand was still on her face, thumb stroking her cheek. I know. You work for me. You're under my protection. This is a terrible idea. Adeeze finished. I know that too. Then why? Because sometimes terrible ideas feel like the only honest thing in a world full of lies. She caught his hand, laced her fingers through his bloodied ones. Because I'm tired of pretending I don't feel this. Aren't you? Every day. He brought her hand to his lips, kissed her knuckles. Every single day. They sat in the charged silence, hands linked, both knowing they'd crossed a line they couldn't uncross. We should go inside, Min-jun finally said. You need to rest. And you need to handle Sung-ho. Yes. Promise me something. Depends what it is. Promise you won't die doing it. Her voice cracked. Promise you'll come back. His expression softened into something she'd never seen before, something almost like hope. Why does it matter? Because, she stopped, the words too big, too frightening to say out loud. Just promise. I promise. He squeezed her hand. For you, I promise. They got out of the car, and Min-jun led her into the safe house, a minimalist apartment, all clean lines and security systems. Taeyang was already there, setting up equipment. I'll have men posted outside, Taeyang said, not quite meeting their eyes. He'd probably seen the kiss through the car window. Boss, we need to move on Sung-ho tonight. Agreed. Min-jun turned to Adaeze. Stay here. Don't open the door for anyone but me or Taeyong. If anything happens. Nothing will happen. She tried to sound confident. You promised. I did. He looked at her for a long moment, like he was memorizing her face. Then he did something that shocked her. He leaned down and kissed her forehead, gentle and reverent. I'll be back by morning. Min-jun. But he was already leaving, Taeyong at his heels. The door clicked shut, locks engaging automatically. Adaeze was alone. She touched her lips, still feeling the phantom pressure of his kiss. This was insane. She was falling for a man who lived in darkness, who dealt in violence and fear. A man who'd trapped her in his world and then made that world feel less like a prison and more like. No. She couldn't think like that. Couldn't let these feelings grow into something more dangerous than they already were. But as she settled onto the safe house couch, watching Seoul's lights through bulletproof windows, she knew it was too late. She'd already fallen. The only question now was whether Min-jun would catch her, or whether they'd both crash and burn together. Hours passed. Midnight came and went. Adaeze tried to sleep but couldn't. Every sound made her jump, every shadow seemed menacing. She kept checking her phone, no messages, no updates. At 3 a.m., she heard voices outside. Male voices, speaking rapid Korean. Then silence. The door lock clicked. Adaeze grabbed a kitchen knife, held it with shaking hands. The door opened. Min-jun stood in the doorway, backlit by the hallway lights. His suit was torn at the shoulder, face bruised, but he was alive. Whole. It's done, he said simply. The knife clattered to the floor. Adaeze crossed the space between them in 3 running steps and threw her arms around him. He caught her, held her tight, his face buried in her neck. You came back, she whispered. I promised. They stood like that for a long moment, just holding each other. Then Min-jun pulled back enough to look at her face. Sung-ho is finished. His organization scattered. The thread is gone. His hand cupped her face. You're safe now. Did you? She couldn't finish the question. No. I didn't kill him. His thumb stroked her cheek. I gave the police everything they needed to put him away for 20 years. He's done, but I kept my hands clean. For you. For me. You make me want to be better. To choose the harder path if it's the right one. His eyes searched hers. You make me want to deserve you. Min-jun. He kissed her again, and this time there was no hesitation, no holding back. He walked her backward until her back hit the wall, his body pressing against hers. His kiss was claiming, possessive, but somehow still tender. Tell me to stop, he murmured against her lips. Tell me this is wrong. It is wrong. Then tell me to stop. I can't. She pulled him closer. I can't. His control broke. He lifted her, her legs wrapping around his waist, and carried her toward the bedroom. Laid her down on the bed like she was something precious. Looked at her with such raw hunger and vulnerability that it stole her breath. Are you sure? His voice was rough. No, she pulled him down to her. But I'm doing it anyway. They came together like a storm, desperate and fierce and inevitable. He made love to her like he was worshipping at an altar, like she was the answer to questions he'd been asking his whole life. She gave herself to him completely, knowing it was reckless, knowing it was dangerous, knowing she was lost. Afterwards, they lay tangled together in the dark, his fingers tracing patterns on her skin. This changes everything, he said quietly. I know. I can't let you go now. I know that too. Are you afraid? Adaeze thought about it. She should be afraid, of him, of his world, of these feelings that had grown too large to contain. But lying here in his arms, Feeling his heart beat against hers, she felt something else entirely. "No," she whispered. "Not anymore." He pulled her closer, kissed her temple. "Then stay. Not because you have to. Because you want to. The 6 months. Forget the 6 months. Stay with me. Be mine. Not as an employee, not as someone under my protection. As," he hesitated. "As whatever this is." "What is it?" "I don't know. But I want to find out." His hand found hers in the darkness. "Stay, Adaeze. Choose this. Choose me." She should say no. Should remember all the reasons this was wrong, dangerous, impossible. But dawn was breaking over Seoul, light creeping through the windows, and in that light she saw hope. Saw possibility. Saw a man who'd been broken learning to be whole. "Okay," she whispered. "I'll stay. Because you want to? Because I want to." He kissed her then, soft and sweet, sealing the promise. And Adaeze knew, with terrifying certainty, that she'd just made the most dangerous choice of her life. But dangerous didn't always mean wrong. Sometimes dangerous meant exactly right. They woke tangled together as morning light flooded the safe house. Adaeze's head rested on Min-jun's chest, listening to his heartbeat, steady and strong. His arm was wrapped around her waist, holding her close even in sleep. She should feel regret. Should be horrified at what they'd done, how completely she'd surrendered to him. Instead, she felt peaceful. For the first time since returning that wallet, she felt like she could breathe. Min-jun stirred beneath her, his hand tightening reflexively before his eyes opened. When he saw her, something soft crossed his features, an expression so tender it made her chest ache. "Hi," she whispered. "Hi." His voice was rough with sleep. He tucked a stray braid behind her ear. "Any regrets? Ask me later." His lips curved into an almost smile. "Fair enough." Her phone buzzed on the nightstand, multiple times, insistent. Reality coming back to reclaim them. Adaeze reached for it reluctantly. 7 missed calls from Dante. 3 from G1. Messages in the group chat Dante had created for the team. "Dante, where are you? Boss said you were in protective custody but won't tell us where. Dante, are you okay? I'm worried. G1, she's fine. Boss has her. Dante, that's what I'm worried about." Adaeze felt Min-jun tense beside her as he read over her shoulder. "He cares about you," Min-jun said, his tone carefully neutral. "He's my friend. He wants more than friendship. That's not my problem." She turned to face him fully. "I'm here. With you. That's my choice." Something intense flashed in his eyes. "Say that again." "I'm here with you." He kissed her, deep and possessive, like he needed to claim her mouth to believe the words. When he pulled back, his forehead rested against hers. "I don't share," he said quietly. "I need you to know that. If you're mine completely." "Possessive much?" "You have no idea." His hand slid up her spine, leaving heat in its wake. "In my world, what's mine stays mine. I don't do casual, don't do temporary. If we're doing this, we're doing this. Then everyone needs to know. Dante. G1. Every man in my organization and every enemy I have." His eyes burned into hers. "They need to know you're untouchable because you're mine." It should have sounded controlling. Suffocating. Instead, some primal part of her responded to the raw possessiveness in his voice. "And what am I to you, exactly?" "Everything I shouldn't want and the only thing I need." He kissed her softly. "My weakness and my strength." He stopped, jaw working like the next word was too difficult to say. "You're what?" "We should get back to the penthouse. The team needs to debrief." He pulled away, and the moment shattered. But Adaeze had heard what he didn't say. Seen it in his eyes, in the way his hands had trembled when he touched her. He was falling just as hard as she was. And it terrified him. The penthouse felt different when they returned. Or maybe Adaeze was different. She walked in beside Min-jun, his hand at the small of her back, possessive and claiming, and found the entire team assembled. Taeyang stood by the windows, his expression carefully blank. Ji-won sat on the couch, one leg crossed over the other, watching them with sharp eyes. Dante was at the dining table with his laptops, but his head snapped up when they entered. His gaze went from Min-jun to Adaeze, lingered on Min-jun's hand on her back, and something in his expression shuddered. "You're okay," Dante said, standing. "I was worried. Boss wouldn't tell us." "She was safe," Min-jun cut him off. His hand slid from Adaeze's back to her waist, pulling her fractionally closer. "She's always safe with me." The tension in the room was thick enough to cut. Ji-won's eyebrows rose. Taeyang suddenly became very interested in the view. "So," Ji-won drawled, "are we going to address the elephant in the room, or pretend this isn't happening?" "What elephant?" Min-jun's voice was cold. "The one where you're clearly sleeping with our translator." Ji-won's tone was conversational, but her eyes were ice. "Does she know what she's getting into? Did you tell her what happened to the last woman who got close to you?" Ji-won, Taeyang's warning came too late. "No, let her speak." Min-jun's arm tightened around Adaeze. "What happened to the last woman, Ji-won?" "She left. Disappeared. You locked yourself away for 3 months and nearly destroyed the organization with your grief." Ji-won stood, crossed to Adaeze. "Did he tell you that? Did he tell you loving him is a death sentence? That's enough." Min-jun's voice was deadly quiet. But Adaeze stepped forward, out of his protective hold. "Who was she?" "Her name was Yuna," Ji-won said, ignoring Min-jun's warning glare. "Beautiful. Kind. She loved him, thought she could save him. He pushed her away to protect her, and she left. Found someone safer, someone normal. Last I heard, she's married with a kid. Happy. And you?" Adaeze asked quietly. "You were with him too." Ji-won's smile was sharp. "For about 3 weeks, 2 years ago. He was good in bed but terrible at feelings. We work better as colleagues." She tilted her head. "But you're different. You've got him twisted up in ways I've never seen. Question is, are you strong enough to handle what that means?" "What does it mean?" "It means everyone who hates him will try to hurt you. It means living with guards, sleeping with a gun under your pillow, never knowing if today's the day someone uses you to destroy him." Ji-won's expression softened slightly. "It means loving someone who's been broken so many times he doesn't know how to be whole. Are you ready for that?" Adaeze looked back at Min-jun. He stood rigid, jaw tight, eyes carefully blank, like he was waiting for her to run. Expecting it. "I returned a wallet," Adaeze said softly. "That simple act turned my life upside down. Brought danger to my door, forced me into this world. I could have run. Could have taken my family and disappeared. But I didn't." "Why not?" Dante asked, his voice tight. "Because," she looked at Min-jun, held his gaze. "Because sometimes the most dangerous choice is the only honest one. Because I'm tired of being safe if safe means being alone. Because you love him," Ji-won finished. "God help you." "I didn't say that." "You didn't have to. It's written all over your face." Ji-won shook her head. "Fine. Your funeral. But don't say I didn't warn you." She grabbed her jacket and left. Dante followed without a word, his disappointment hanging in the air like smoke. Taeyang cleared his throat. "I'll give you two a moment." He left as well, closing the door behind him. Silence filled the penthouse. "You don't have to stay," Min-jun said finally. His voice was carefully controlled. "Ji-won's right. Loving me is Stop. Adaeze crossed to him. Stop deciding for me. Stop trying to protect me from you. You don't understand what you're signing up for. Then explain it to me. Tell me about Yuna. Tell me why you pushed her away. Tell me, her voice softened. Tell me why you're so terrified of this. Min-jun's control cracked. He turned away, hands bracing against the window, shoulders tight. She didn't leave because I pushed her away. She left because she saw what I really was. His voice was raw. I came home covered in blood. Not my blood, the blood of 3 men who tried to ambush me. She looked at me like I was a monster. And she was right. Min-jun. I tried to be normal for her. Tried to be the man she wanted. But I'm not that man. I'm the man who breaks bones for a living. Who ruins lives. Who, he stopped, swallowed hard. Who doesn't deserve someone like you? Adaeze moved behind him, wrapped her arms around his waist, pressed her cheek to his back. Felt him shudder. What if I don't want normal? What if I want you, exactly as you are? You don't know what you're saying. I watched you show mercy to that debtor. Saw you choose the legal route with Sung-ho instead of violence. You're not the monster you think you are. She held him tighter. You're a man who's had to be hard to survive. But you're capable of softness. Of care. I've seen it. That's just for you. He turned in her arms, his hands framing her face. You bring out the best in me. But the worst is still there, Adaeze. Always will be. Then I'll take both. The best and the worst. All of you. Why? The question broke from him like a confession. Why would you do that? Because, she took a breath, let herself say the terrifying truth. Because Ji-won was right. I love you. The words hung between them, heavy and irreversible. Min-jun's eyes closed. When they opened again, they were wet. You shouldn't, he whispered. Too late. Adaeze. I love you. I don't know when it happened. Maybe when you fought your way through traffic to save me. Maybe when you held that debtor accountable but gave him mercy. Maybe it's been growing since that first day in the cafe. She smiled through her own tears. I love you, Kang Min-jun. And I'm not going anywhere. He kissed her then, desperately, reverently, like she'd given him something he'd never thought to have. When he pulled back, his forehead pressed to hers, his voice was wrecked. I love you too. God help me, I love you so much it terrifies me. Then be terrified with me. We'll figure it out together. Together, he repeated, like testing the word. Then, stronger, together. They stood like that, wrapped in each other, as Seoul hummed below them. 2 broken people finding wholeness in each other. A criminal and the woman who'd returned his wallet. A man who'd lost faith in goodness and the woman who'd restored it. It was reckless. Dangerous. Completely insane. It was also the truest thing either of them had ever felt. So what now? Adaeze asked eventually. Now? Min-jun's smile was soft, real. Now I introduce you properly. Not as my employee. Not as someone under my protection. As my woman. As, he hesitated. As what? As the person I'm going to spend the rest of my life with. He cupped her face. If you'll have me. That almost sounded like a proposal. It was. His eyes were serious. I don't do things halfway, Adaeze. When I commit completely. So I'm asking, will you build a life with me? Knowing what I am, knowing the danger, knowing everything? That's crazy. We've known each other a month. I know. Is that a no? Adaeze thought of her father, who'd taught her to do the right thing. Thought of her family, who she'd sacrificed everything for. Thought of the girl she'd been when she stepped off the plane in Seoul 2 years ago, hopeful and naive and sure of her path. That girl was gone. In her place was a woman who'd learned that life wasn't about safe choices. It was about true ones. It's a yes, she whispered. It's a yes to all of it. Min-jun's smile was blinding. He lifted her, spun her around, kissed her breathless. When he set her down, there was joy in his eyes, real, pure joy. I'll give you everything, he promised. Everything I have, everything I am. You'll never want for anything. I just want you. You have me. Always. He kissed her softly. My Adaeze. My salvation. My love. Outside, the city glittered in the afternoon sun. Inside, two people who shouldn't have worked somehow fit together perfectly. The road ahead would be hard. There would be challenges, threats, moments where they'd question everything. But they'd face it together. And that made all the difference.